Today somebody asked me for some guidance about how they could create a 3D stair from this little bit of simple 2D geometry. And essentially I've just got a series of lines here and two polylines that represent the 2D shape of a stair, this being the bottom and this being the top. So I thought about it for a while and I've come up with a few ideas. The objective of this movie is not to be definitive and precisely accurate with the making of the stair. It's just to give you some ideas about 3D modeling. So the first thing we need to do is to create all of these treads, and I'm going to take the 2D polygon tool and use it in polygon from inner boundary mode, and provided these lines touch or overlap the polylines, the polyline curves, then as I click inside each of these it will develop the shape, and that's a fairly quick way of going from a line drawing into something a bit more substantial. Alright, so that's stage one. We've got these series of filled polylines, and I had a default color in here. That's why they've come up with a color as I place them. Alright, taking the select similar tool, and I'll be using this a bit. I've got it set just to pick up the fill attributes. Could also maybe set it to object type as well. So if I click on this now, it's going to select these 17 polylines. So the first step is to extrude these, and let's go to the model menu to extrude, and this is going to be the riser height. So set it to whatever the riser height is. In my case it's going to be 180. Let's now go to a right ISO view and take a look at what we've got here. And I might just spin this around a bit, and I'll do this a couple of times during this operation. So what we want to do now is to break these up into individual steps and then separate them up in 3D. When you extrude a number of objects together, you can simply use ungroup to break them down into the original objects, and now I've got 17 extrudes. And because this was the firstmost object, it's at the back, so all I need to do is to click here and I can snap that onto that point there. Do that a little bit more accurately by pressing the Z key when I get close, and that's correct. And I'm just going to proceed around here doing this. Every now and then I'll probably press the Z key to just go in and out, and I can also interrupt this process by pressing the spacebar, the shift key and the C key. That allows me to rotate the model around to get a better view at it. So we'll take the next one and put it up here and just continue around. Anytime you can't get a clear view, then it's probably time to move the model or rotate the model around a little bit, and I'll be needing to do that in a moment. Let's just press the Z key on that one, make sure I'm aligned. Okay, so that's spacebar, shift C. Let's move that around a bit more to about there and let them go, and we'll bounce back to wherever we were with our boomerang mode. And we're nearly done getting these up here. And just a quick open GL render, and we'll spin that around and make sure we've got it looking as expected, which we do. Alright, so remember the riser here was 180. Now I can select all of these, and I can click on the select similar tool, and there we go, and we've got our 17 extrudes. So I can now change the extrusion depth back to whatever the tread thickness is going to be. Let's say it's 40 millimeters, and you'll see that everything dropped down then. So I need to now move all of these up by 140 millimeters to get the correct rise at that bottom tread there, and I can use the move 3D. Notice this has a keyboard shortcut which I'll use in future. So there's our 140, and we've got our starting point for our stair. Now the next thing we need to do is to generate the stringers. Now remember that this shape is an oval shaped stair and it flares out of the bottom, so these stringers are going to be probably laminated or made from steel or something like that. So what I'm going to do is to draw a NURBS curve around both sides and then use that to base the geometry on. But what I need to do first, and I'm go back to wireframe, is to place from the 3D toolset a 3D locus on that point there and that point there. And you'll see why I need those in a moment. Select them both. I'm going to use move 3D to move them up 180. Alright, so in the same tool set we go to the NURBS curve tool, and in the first mode here, and with a degree of 3, which is the default, we can then start drawing. And I'm just going to literally click on the top edge of each of these outer edges here, and I'll use the Z key where needed just to make sure I'm at the right point. Sometimes it's easy to see, other times it's better to use the key. And again, I'm going to interrupt this, spacebar, shift C, and spin this around. Let them go, and we'll go to our next one and move around. And you can see as we get to the top why we needed those extra 3D locus points there. That's our finish point, so we double click there and that gives us that curve. Let's just spin that around and see if the curve looks accurate. Yes, it does. So now we'll do the inner curve. I'm going to zoom in a bit here to make the job just a little bit easier in identifying those points. And we'll take the tool again, and it makes it a lot easier being zoomed in to that level. If you do get it wrong, like if you click a wrong point and then you notice you have, if you press the delete key, it will just delete the last segment you drew, and we're looking for the end point. And again, don't forget to press the Z key if you can't get a good shot at what you're trying to hit. Alright, at this point I'm going to spin it around a bit. Now even if you do get one of these wrong and you don't notice it till the end, we're just near the end point, I'm going to double click on that point there. Now let's spin this around and make sure that we got all of the points correct. And that looks pretty good. But if you didn't get a point right, if you double click either of these curves, you'll see that there is a control point at each of these, and you can just literally move it up and snap it onto the right point to get the curves looking or snapping properly. Alright, we don't need these 3D loci anymore, so we can delete those. Alright, now this is where it gets interesting. We can use these curves to do a number of things. And let's say that we want to create a stringer around here, and the stringer is going to clear the top edge of that tread by maybe 50 millimeters. So we'll select both of these and just move them directly up 50 millimeters. And now I want to do an extrude along path, but I want to keep these curves. So I'm going to select both of them and press the control key, sorry, the alt key or the option key, and just click on one of them, and that will give me a duplicate of both curves. You'll see that if I move this away, oh, didn't get the duplicate. Let's do it again. And again, there we go. We've got the duplicates now. Alright. What I want to do now is I want to start this extrude along path parallel to the front edge of this bottom tread here. So if I take the set working plane tool, I can move it over that face and set the working plane to that face, and you'll see why this is important in a moment. This outline here represents the working plane. So now I could take the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle from that endpoint down here to whatever size it needs to be, and let's say it is 50 by 300, or should we say minus 300. Let's put that as minus 300. Or alternatively, we'll just move it. There we go. Alright, so we have this object here. We'll probably be using the same one over that side, so let's make a copy of this. Press the Alt or Option key and drag a copy over to here. Alright, so we'll do this outer extrude along path first. So we select the curve and the profile. We go to the model menu and extrude along path. It will ask us to identify which is the curve, and you can see that that's highlighted here. If we go next, you'll see it highlights that, which is not what we want. We've got the curve. Now it's important here to click Lock Profile Plane and Fix Profile. Click OK, and that will extrude that around there. And let's repeat that here. So we've got these two. We go Model, Extrude Along Path. We've got the right one highlighted. Lock and Fix. Click OK. Let's just give these a different color so we can identify them a bit more easily. So you can see that now our stair is starting to take shape. Just in an OpenGL render mode there. So what else will we need to put on this stair? Well, we're going to need a balustrade and a handrail and so on. Now you'll remember that I duplicated those curves. Let's go back to a wireframe view, and those curves are going to be still in the same position they were, which is basically along this edge here. I'm going to send this to the back so that I can pick that curve. I should be able to pick the curve. Maybe I didn't duplicate the curve after all. Never mind. We can extract the curve because we want this curve here by using the extract tool. And we click on this edge here. That will extract that curve or that curve, whichever one we want. Let's just, as an experiment or as a demonstration, select these two bottom curves because I want to show you something. So select that one, hit return, and that will develop a nurbs curve along that edge. And let's do that one there as well. And notice we're extracting the curve mode here. And we've got those two curves. Now, if this was a closed-in stair and you wanted to create the bottom edge for this stair, or a bottom surface, we now have these two curves. If we go to the loft surface in the first mode, we can click on the first curve, which is there, then click on the second curve, which is there, and you'll see this red line appear here. If we press the tick or enter button, we can preview this curve, and it's actually created a solid nurbs surface between those two shapes. So we'll go, let's stick with that, and I'll give this a different color so that we can just see it a bit more plainly. Let's render that. And so what we've got now is a nice smooth surface underneath the stair. Now it's not actually what I wanted with the stair, but it's useful to know about that. And you can also actually give this thickness if you want to, and I'll be using this process in a moment. But if we go to the shell solid tool, and you'll see that when we hover over a surface, it will highlight in red, and we can click it to highlight it and then set the thickness. So let's say it's 10 millimeters, about 3/8 of an inch, inside or outside. Click OK, and then click the tick box there, and you'll see now that this surface actually has a thickness, so it could be used as a lining material or something like that. And we can reverse it inside and outside, and we've also got the thickness again there. So if I zoom right in here, you'll see that if I click inside, it will go to either inside or outside of the original surface. Alright, so now we want to create the rails and maybe the balusters. So we're going to use our extract tool again, and that's it down here. So let's extract this curve here. So we select that, click the little tick, and then select this curve here and click the little tick, and that's given us those two curves there. Now probably what I really would like to do here is to have what I'm about to do appearing in the center of this here, but for the sake of this exercise we'll just leave those two curves where they are. I can take this curve now and go to the model menu and go tapered extrude, and let's say the handrail height is 1 meter. Click OK, and it extrudes that up around and gives us the curve. Let's do the same on the other side. Tapered extrude 1000, and we've got our let's say this was going to be glass or something like that. So again, if we go back to the shell solid and click on this surface, and in here let's say the glass is 10 millimeters thick, and outside click OK, click the tick, and that actually went the opposite way to what I want, so click on inside, and let's do the same here, and again that went in the that's okay. Now if those two surfaces were going to be glass, then probably you would want to select them and give them a glass texture, and I think we've got a clear glass texture here, so I can apply that and that will make them transparent. And finally we can, I might just go back to wireframe because that gets a bit harder to see, and again we've got our surfaces here, and I want to extract a curve along from these two as well. So we go back to our extract tool, and let's try and pick up that inside curve there, hit return, pick up the inside curve there, hit return or enter, and we've got those two curves now. So we're going to do another extrude along path. This time our working plane should still be on that same face, so if I draw a circle here and I'm going to sit that right on the position that I want it to be, and I'm going to make a copy of that and put it over there as well. So let's do, actually I think it was on the inside edge there, let's just move that to there. Alright, so we go extrude along path, make sure we've got the right one selected, lock and fix, and then we'll do that same here, extrude along path, we've got our two rails, and maybe we've got some stainless steel brushed, let's apply that. And we'll set the working plane back to layer plane and render that in OpenGL. And you'll see that we've got something that's pretty close to what we wanted. And if I render that in a custom Renderworks, you'll see we'll get some of the other effects happening. Maybe we can get rid of the yellow bit on the bottom. We've got quite a bit of distortion happening in the glass here, so that there are some settings in the render mode, in the texture, sorry. If we click on glass, edit, and my guess is that the refraction is probably, yeah, if we set the index of refraction to say maybe 1, we're not going to get nearly as much distortion on the glass surfaces. Well, let's just do a final quality Renderworks. And there's our stair.